Ever wonder what your favorite rock legend was doing at 18? Chuck Berry wasn't practicing guitar scales, he was holding up stores at gunpoint. In 1944, he and two friends went on a robbery spree, stealing a car and waving pistols like they were auditioning for Bonnie and Clyde.
Give me all your money, bookworm, or I blow your brains out.
The sentence? 3 years in reform school. He served about half, but the criminal record stuck like gum on a shoe. Moral of the story, even founding fathers of rock sometimes start out as felons in training. If crime's a gateway drug to fame, kids, don't try this at home. Here's the part almost nobody mentions. A year before the infamous Mann Act arrest, Berry was caught with a 17-year-old girl in his car. Police let him off with a fine. Think of it like a flashing neon warning sign that read, "Stop now, Berry." He blew right past it like it was a speed limit sign in the desert. If that earlier run-in had been taken seriously, rock history might have been cleaner. But without consequences, Berry kept playing the same dangerous tune. Lesson: when you ignore the warning light, the crash is inevitable. Chuck Berry had a rule: no cash, no concert. He'd show up with a guitar in one hand and a suitcase in the other, the kind you could hide a body in, and wouldn't play a note until it was stuffed with money. Smart? Maybe. Legal? Not so much. By 1979, the IRS came knocking, waving receipts he conveniently forgot to file, to the tune of $110,000. Berry pled guilty, did 4 months in prison, and 1,000 hours of community service. Rock lesson here: money talks. But so does the tax man. By 1987, Berry's rap sheet already looked like a depressing greatest hits album, but then came New York's Gramercy Park Hotel. A woman accused him of punching her in the face so hard she needed stitches, dental work, and probably a new opinion on rock stars. Berry avoided jail with a guilty plea to harassment and a $250 fine. The victim? She went for $5 million in civil court, and they settled quietly. It's a reminder that Berry didn't just smash guitars. Sometimes he smashed people's faces too. This one's pure tabloid gold. In 1989, a cook at Berry's Missouri restaurant accused him of hiding cameras in the women's bathroom. At first, he claimed it was to catch a thief. But as more women came forward, eventually 60, the story collapsed faster than a cheap amp. Police later found hours of footage from Berry's own restrooms and estate. That's not security. That's a career-ending scandal on VHS. Or it should have been. Instead, Berry somehow kept performing, proving rock legends sometimes get away with things that would bury anyone else. In 1990, police raided Berry's home, and what they found made the bathroom scandal look like a parking ticket. Dozens of tapes, many showing women in restrooms, plus 62 grams of marijuana. Investigators suspected some videos might include underage victims, but Berry cut a deal before they could prove it. The official charge? Just misdemeanor weed possession. That's like catching someone robbing a bank and booking them for jaywalking. If fame is armor, Berry's was bulletproof. Over the next few years, more than 60 women joined lawsuits against Berry for the bathroom videos. He never admitted guilt, but he didn't exactly fight it in court either. By 1994, he'd quietly paid out around $1.3 million in settlements. Add legal fees, and the scandal likely cost him more than a small tour. Still, no prison time, no career collapse. The lesson? In the 90s, if you had enough money, you could buy your way out of almost anything, even that. But buried in that pile of seized tapes was a different kind of footage. Berry with consenting partners. Consenting. But let's just say the activities weren't PG-13. The leaked clips showed urination, scat play, and enough kink to make 50 Shades look like a church pamphlet. These weren't rumors, they were real, recorded, and part of his private collection. It turns out rock and roll rebellion wasn't just about breaking guitar strings. Sometimes it was about breaking every possible bedroom taboo. In 1972, Chuck Berry scored his only #1 pop hit with My Ding-a-Ling, a goofy sing-along ode to, well, you can guess. Fans laughed it off as harmless innuendo, but looking back, it reads more like an Easter egg for his real-life obsessions. Berry's fixation on sex wasn't a stage persona. It bled into his personal life, sometimes in criminal ways. It's proof that sometimes the art isn't inspired by life. It is the life. Biographers say there were really two Chuck Berrys. One, the charming showman, smiling, duck-walking, a living blueprint for every rock guitarist that followed. The other, a man who pushed legal and moral boundaries on purpose, almost daring people to catch him. It's the kind of double life that makes you question how much of the nice guy act was just part of the show. As one writer put it, Berry didn't just cross lines, he erased them. When Berry died in 2017, obituaries called him a pioneer, a genius, but skipped the bathroom cameras, the underage girls, and the assault cases. It wasn't until the Me Too wave later that year that journalists started connecting the dots. Suddenly, the father of rock and roll also looked like one of its biggest predators. The irony? His death gave him one last encore. Only this time the spotlight wasn't so flattering. If you're still watching, you're officially braver than most music journalists. Hit subscribe, because the second half goes even darker, and yes, it somehow gets worse. In 2022, R.J. Smith's Chuck Berry. An American Life dropped like a lead riff in the middle of a slow ballad. Smith's research showed Berry's scandals weren't random slip-ups, they were deliberate. He didn't stumble over the line, he stepped over it on purpose, almost like the danger itself was part of the performance. That's not recklessness, that's choreography, with a criminal edge. St. Louis gave the world Chuck Berry, and they're proud of it. Statues, street names, yearly tributes, but it's pride with a wince. How do you throw a parade for a man whose rap sheet could be its own double album? They've settled on the unspoken deal. Celebrate the riffs, forget the rest. It's like honoring a chef who also poisoned half the block. Awkward, but profitable. Not all of Berry's punches landed in court. Keith Richards once picked up Berry's guitar without permission. Berry greeted him with a fist. Richards later called it one of my greatest honors. Only in rock and roll can getting punched in the face by your idol be a career milestone. Still, it's a perfect snapshot of Berry's personality. Don't touch the guitar, or else. Berry's career should have been dead in the water more than once, but the music industry had its own witness protection program for legends. Promoters kept booking him, labels kept selling him, fans kept showing up. Why? Because in rock and roll, money drowns out morality. As long as Berry could fill a venue, his past was just bad press to be managed. Berry forces the question, can you dance to Johnny B. Good without thinking about the man who wrote it? Some say yes, the music lives on its own. Others say no, every note is stained. It's the eternal art versus artist debate, and Berry's case is one of the messiest. Because here, the genius and the predator are the same person. The wildest part? Most of Berry's ugliest secrets weren't exposed until decades later, long after the applause had faded. Some were buried by settlements, others were hidden behind the polite silence of an industry protecting its own. It took time, cultural shifts, and a lot less tolerance for boys will be boys to finally air it all out. By then, the legend was untouchable, and the man was gone. Chuck Berry was the father of rock and roll, and maybe the godfather of rock and roll scandal. He gave the world the swagger, the riffs, and the blueprint for every guitar hero to come, but he also left behind a rap sheet that could make a tabloid editor blush. His story is a reminder that legends aren't always heroes, and sometimes the most shocking truths take decades to surface. If you think this was wild, wait until you hear about the rock star who faked his own death and fooled the world for years.